and welcome to the third project in the 'Tis the Season video series. It is a cold and rainy day, so it's a little dark in my office today, but we are going to be creating a holiday card. First thing I have done is use some Bella Boulevard paper that I have machine stitched, and we're going to attach it to the front of the card. Now you can stitch directly through your cards, but what ends up happening is that on the inside of the cards, the other side of the stitching shows, and it just looks a little more professional if you don't do it that way. So this is a die cut that I've created with this Tim Holtz die cut. It's called Ornamental, and this is a must-have tool in my scrapbooking office. And we're just going to put that there. I've pre-cut the edge off the bottom of this. And then this is some paper from October Afternoon. It is actually not holiday paper, but because it has the tones of red that I wanted, I'm going to go ahead and use it right here on my project. Go ahead and look for different colored pattern papers in your stash because you can use anything as long as it's in the tones that you want. This is pattern paper, double-sided pattern paper from Bo Bunny, and I have pre-cut it with some scallop scissors. You can use a scallop border or you can use your die cut machine, whatever way you normally like to cut scallops. Now I'm going to show you a quick tip for adding ribbon that I use all the time. Okay, so what I'm going to use is I have a cutting board underneath my card, and I have a X-Acto knife. This is a wonderful X-Acto knife. It's a Tim Holtz tonic knife. I love it because the blade is retractable. And right here where the ribbon is going to cross, I'm going to cut a slit right in the fold of the card, and I'm going to cut it as long as my ribbon is wide. So if you have a 1/2 inch wide ribbon, you need to cut a 1/2 inch, and you can kind of eyeball it. So this is what the slit looks like. You can kind of see the hole. And then basically you're going to thread your ribbon through that slit, and then you're going to just tie this ribbon in a knot. So that's one quick and easy way that I use frequently to add a slit in my card for my ribbons. Just cut off the excess. Okay, for the next part of the project, we are going to do some stamping. So I have this Hero Arts grid stamp, and this is actually Stampin' Up. If you like a craft looking stamp color, I like Crumb Cake or Sahara Sand from Stampin' Up. And I'm going to ink that entire stamp. And then I'm going to put the cardstock actually on top of that stamp, and then using a brayer, I'm going to actually push the cardstock into the ink and the design of the stamp. This is an easier way than stamping into cardstock when you have one of these larger background stamps. So there you have what we've done with the stamping here. So I've pre-cut a little cardstock rectangle, and this is a My Mind's Eye chipboard frame, and we're going to go ahead and peel off the white backing. We're going to just stick that right on there, and then we're going to add the frame to our card with glue dots. All right, just center that wherever you like on your card. And now for the additional stamping projects, we're going to set this all aside, and I'm going to show you how I like to stamp and color in with Copic markers. When you're using Copic markers, you need to have a kind of cardstock that will absorb alcohol ink because Copic markers are alcohol ink. So first you want to start with a black ink. This Tuxedo Black by Memento is perfect, and you go ahead and stamp into the paper. This is a stamp set from Hero Arts, and you can see I'm using this little ornament here. Now, when you're stamping with Copic markers, or rather coloring in with Copic markers, you typically want 3 of the same color. You want a light, and you want a medium, and you want a dark. This is R24, R46, and R59. And when you're coloring, let me zoom in a little bit so you can. Okay, I've zoomed in so you can see this a little bit better, but you're going to start with your lightest color, and you're going to go ahead and color in the image. Now, Copics come in a lot of different styles of markers. The markers that I best like are the sketch markers. There's the Chow, and there's a couple of other different kinds, but I really like the sketch because they have this brush tip. Now, the thing about Copic markers is you can actually change out the nibs. This brush has a brush tip and it also has a chisel tip, but I can replace either of those tips with any other Copic tip. That's one thing that I love about these Copic markers. So again, start with your lightest color. Now you need to determine where light will fall on your project. So for this project, we're going to assume that light is going to come from this area. So then we're going to start with the medium tone, and we're going to fill in some of the shadows. So just based upon where you think the shadows might fall, you're going to color in with the markers. And then I like to do this back and forth a couple of times. Again, come back with the lightest tone, and you're going to pull that light color and that dark color together using that brush tip, and see how it starts to blend beautifully. So now it's a little bit more blended. Now you're going to come in with that last dark color, the R59, and go in the shadowed areas again, but don't cover all of the medium tones and don't cover all of the light tones. Then I come back in with my medium tone. There's a lot of different techniques and ways for doing it. This is how I do it. And again, I'm pulling that darkest color with my medium tone into my project. And then I follow up by blending everything with my lightest tone. So the nice thing about this paper we're using is that it doesn't bleed. So now that it's in focus, you can kind of see the darker tones with the lighter tones. So that's how you color with Copic markers. Okay, back to the card. Let me show you the pre-cut or the pre-colored ornament, and then I've cut it out. I've used tones of brown and green and red, and we're going to add this to our project. I've just cut it out, and now we're going to add an adhesive foam square. I like these packages from American Crafts because they have large and small. Now, before I add a foam square, I have attached with a glue dot some twine on the back. And what we're going to do is we're going to add it to the card like this. But the first thing that I want to do is I want to add some stamping on this cardstock. I want to add my sentiment first. So let's go ahead and do that. So I have that black Memento ink. I use it for pretty much everything. It's just a rich, rich colored ink. And I'm actually going to remove this frame. I probably should have done that first. If I try to stamp with that dimensional chipboard frame, it's not going to give me a clean image. So anytime I'm stamping, I use some kind of a foam core base. You ink up your stamp. This stamp is Season's Greetings. It is from this particular stamp set by Hero Arts. Lots of different Christmas sentiments on there. And then let's put the frame back on to judge where we're going to need it. And then just press in gently. Don't rock too much or you'll get edges on your stamping. So it says Season's Greetings. Let's add that chipboard frame again. But this time when we put it down, don't put the whole entire top down. Just adhere at the bottom. And I'll show you why. So let's go ahead and add our ornament. Center the ornament. And then thread the twine underneath the chipboard frame. And we're actually going to tie it to this chipboard frame. And you can double knot it for added staying power. then trim off the excess. Okay, now let's go ahead and decorate up the ornament a little bit. I have some jewels here. Sorry, looks like I'm blocking the light. I have some red jewels here. We're going to use these little red mini jewels, and we're going to put them in the centers of each of the ornament flowers. So there you have our holiday card using Copic markers and stamping to create a season's greeting card. Be sure to visit my blog for additional photos and instructions, as well as the complete supply list for creating this card.